Republic of Pakistan. With your permission, sir, may I begin? Thank you. Honorable Prime Minister of Islamic Republic of Pakistan, Advisor to the Prime Minister on National Security and Foreign Policy, Federal Ministers, Special Assistant to the Prime Minister on Foreign Policy, Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, the Foreign Secretary, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you all to this solemn occasion being held in the memory of all those involved in the tragic Naltar accident. We will begin with the ceremony with a prayer from the Holy Quran.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الذين إذا أصابتهم مصيبة قالوا إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون أولئك عليهم صلوات من ربهم ورحمة وأولئك هم المهتدون. Translation: Who, when a suffering visits them, say, we certainly belong to Allah, and to Him we are bound to return. Those are the ones upon whom there are blessings from their Lord, and mercy as well, and those are the ones who are on the right path. Sadaqallahu al-Azim.
I would like to invite the Foreign Secretary for his remarks.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Honorable Prime Minister, Federal Ministers, Advisor to the Prime Minister on National Security and Foreign Affairs, Special Assistant to the Prime Minister on Foreign Affairs, Excellencies and friends from the Diplomatic Corps, families of the deceased, dignitaries from the Philippines, Malaysia, and Indonesia, ladies and gentlemen. It is with a heavy heart that we are gathered here today as we say goodbye to Ambassador Leif Larsson, Ambassador Domingo Lucinario, Madame Habiba Binte Mahmood, and Madame Hari Listiawati, our very dear friends who lost their lives in the tragic helicopter crash last Friday. Sadly, Major Altamash and Major Faisal and Naib Subedar Zakir of the Pakistan Army also embraced martyrdom. We pray for the departed souls. We also pray that the Almighty may give the affected families strength to bear this irreparable loss and the loss of their dear ones in this tragic accident. It is a loss which no words can describe, especially for the Foreign Office fraternity, as we had developed such a close and warm friendship with all of them. We are like a family, and like in all families, one's pain is everybody's pain. We will greatly miss our friends, Leif, Domingo, Madame Habiba, and Hari. I would now like to read out the obituaries of our 4 deceased friends. Ambassador Leif H. Larsson was born in Norway on 27 January 1954 and joined the Foreign Service in 1984. From 1986, he served his country with distinction in a number of diplomatic missions abroad, from Riyadh to Brussels to Islamabad. Ambassador Larsson was a gentleman in the true spirit and befriended all during his brief stay here. He had been working in this region for several years. He had survived an attack by Taliban at Hotel Serena in Kabul in 2008. He was fond of traveling and was keen on expeditions that involved discovering nature. He leaves behind a widow and young son. Ambassador Domingo Lucinario Jr., a lawyer and career diplomat, was born on 3rd September 1960 in Manila, Philippines. Ambassador Lucinario had the rare distinction of having been awarded by the President of the Philippines with 3 major presidential awards for his exceptional and meritorious services as a career diplomat. He was also conferred the Isabel de Catalunya Award by the Spanish government for his role in fostering closer relations between the Philippines and Spain. Ambassador Lucinario had also served as the Philippine ambassador to Kenya. His final assignment was the ambassador to Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan. The ambassador and his wife were very active in Islamabad's diplomatic circles and were avid participants in the ASEAN Food Festival in 2013, Papua Annual Charity Bazaar, and the recent ASEAN Badminton Tournament organized by the Foreign Ministry. He leaves behind his wife, Nida Arada, and 3 children. Madame Hari Listiawati was born in November 1964 and did her master's in land laws. Being an educationist, she was a lecturer at the Gadjah Mada University in Indonesia. Madame Listiawati played an active role as head of the Indonesian Women's Association in Islamabad and organized a number of social and cultural events for the promotion of people-to-people contacts and bilateral ties between our 2 countries. One event that stands out in all our minds is the recent table tennis tournament organized by the Pakistan Foreign Office Women Association, in which Madame Listiawati was the runner-up. Madame Listiawati was a caring personality and played an active role for women's empowerment and education. She won the hearts of many in the diplomatic circles and in the Foreign Office as well. She will be greatly missed and leaves behind 2 sons. Madame Habiba Binte Mahmood was a quiet, loving, popular, and friendly member of the diplomatic community. Her warm and amiable mannerisms had endeared her to many of the wives in the Foreign Office and with fellow diplomats. She actively participated in all of the activities that were organized by the Foreign Office Women Association, particularly in the annual bazaar. In fact, the Malaysian stall at the bazaar was always a popular venue. It was through Madame Habiba's untiring efforts that we in the ministry and many Pakistanis enjoyed the best of traditional hospitality of Malaysian cuisine and customs. She was indeed a true representative of her country and will be greatly missed. She leaves behind her husband, Ambassador Mujtabar, who is presently in the CMH Rawalpindi recovering from his injuries, and 3 children. Our deepest condolences go out to all the families who have lost their loved ones in this dreadful accident. May the Almighty bless their souls. Ameen. Let me take this opportunity to express our sincere hope and prayers for the early recovery of those who were injured in this accident. Ambassador Burhan Muhammad of Indonesia sustained serious injuries and has been transported in an air ambulance this morning to Singapore. Ambassador Marcel de Wink of Netherlands has also been airlifted to his country for further treatment. Ambassador Mujtabar of Malaysia is recovering well. Ambassador of Poland and his wife have already been released from the hospital. Before I invite the Dean of Diplomatic Corps, may I propose to observe a minute of silence in honor and memory of those who have left us. May you please rise. Thank you. Now I would like to invite the Dean of Diplomatic Corps, Ambassador Rodolfo, to say a few words.
Assalamu alaikum. Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Federal Ministers, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Sartaj Aziz, Minister of State of Foreign Affairs, Basu Tariq Fatemi, Honorable Federal Secretary, Foreign Secretary, my dear colleagues and spouses, it is very hard to be here in front of you in this sad moment. But I would like to say, as the Foreign Secretary already mentioned about all the qualities of our colleagues who passed away, I want to mention, on the other hand, that all of you know that last weekend that we finally succeeded to organize a trip to the north, that myself as a Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, together with the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Serena Hotels, the Air Force, the government of Gilgit-Baltistan, we have been trying to organize this since the last 3 years, and this time with the full blessing and support of the Prime Minister of Pakistan, Mr. Nawaz Sharif, a group of 37 ambassadors, some of them with their spouses and children, we started a visit to the northern area with the purpose of seeing its extraordinarily beautiful landscape and to be treated by the traditional generosity and friendship that are the characteristics of the people of that area. In addition to that, and as I personally mentioned to the Prime Minister, that the purpose of this trip was to show the world that after the extraordinary and brave operation done by the army in coordination with the government of Pakistan against the terrorists, we can travel to a peaceful and safe region of Pakistan. This visit that I personally discussed 10 days ago with you, Mr. Prime Minister, was going to be a tribute of the Diplomatic Corps to the country and to your government, and that's why Your Excellency suggested to me during that meeting that you wanted to be there and host a lunch for all of us in Altar Valley to say thanks for this gesture of support of the whole diplomatic community to the efforts that the government and army are doing to pacify this country. That was the real reason of your projected presence in Altar Valley. But all that was carefully planned changed dramatically with the sad and tragic accident that occurred in Altar Valley. In this regard, I want to publicly and strongly convey a message to all of you and through the media to everybody that myself and all my colleagues who traveled with me in this trip, we are convinced that this tragedy was an unfortunate and sad accident caused by a technical or mechanical failure of the helicopter. And by no means, and I repeat, by no means, there's not a single possibility of being an act of terrorism or sabotage. I pray to God for the departure soul of my dear colleagues, the Ambassador of Norway and Philippines, the wives of the Ambassador of Indonesia and Malaysia, and for the souls of those 2 pilots and the crew members who were also victims of this tragic incident. I also pray to God for the quick recovery of our colleagues who got injured in the sad episode, particularly the Ambassador of Indonesia, who left for Singapore this morning to continue his treatment, and also to the Dutch Ambassador, who also departed today to the Netherlands for the same reason. Our praise goes also for our colleagues, the High Commissioner of Malaysia, the Ambassador of Poland and his wife, and to the other ambassadors who likely escaped slightly injured in that accident. To finalize, I want to thank, on behalf of all my colleagues and spouses, to you, Mr. Prime Minister, to the Foreign Ministry, to the Pakistan Army, to the government of Gilgit-Baltistan, and to the Pakistan Air Force for all the support and facilitation extended to us in Altar Valley, in Gilgit, and back in Islamabad. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Excellency. I would now like to invite the Honorable Prime Minister of Pakistan for his address.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Advisor to the Prime Minister on National Security and Foreign Affairs, Special Assistant to the Minister to the Prime Minister on Foreign Affairs, Foreign Secretary, Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, Excellencies, Ministers, and distinguished guests. Last week's tragic accident took away the lives of many friends of Pakistan. The entire nation of Pakistan is deeply saddened. An occasion that would have been one of the joy and happiness turned into a traumatic experience. We have already spoken to the leaderships of Norway, Malaysia, Indonesia, and the Philippines on telephone and conveyed to them profound condolences of the government and the people of Pakistan. Let me, on behalf of the government and people of Pakistan, express my deep sense of grief and heartfelt condolences to Mrs. Larsen, widow of the Norwegian ambassador, and Mrs. Lucinario, widow of the Philippines ambassador, who lost their husbands in this dreadful accident. I would also like to express my profound sorrow to the families, especially the children of the ambassadors of Indonesia and Malaysia, who lost their mothers in this tragic accident. And let us not forget the precious Pakistani lives lost in the tragedy, including the two brave pilots who continued their efforts to bring the helicopter back under control until the very last moment. They did not care for their own safety while endeavoring to ensure the safety of the passengers, including the foreign dignitaries they were carrying. They and the other crew members upheld the highest traditions of devotion to duty that is characteristic of the armed forces of Pakistan. As we speak, the entire Pakistani nation is praying for the speedy recovery of the ambassadors of Indonesia and the Netherlands who have sustained injuries. We also pray for the health and early recovery of the ambassador of Malaysia and ambassador of Poland and his wife, who are under treatment. Ladies and gentlemen, no words can express the deep anguish and distress that my government and the people of Pakistan have felt over the tragic events of the last couple of days. The ambassadors and I were looking forward for spending an afternoon in the beautiful Nalta Valley at the newly built ski resort. We were eager to experience the wonders of nature in Pakistan's magnificent northern areas. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs, in coordination with the Pakistan Army, Pakistan Air Force, and the government of Gilgit-Baltistan, had covered every detail in making it a memorable occasion. But one never knows what fate holds in store. It is in such difficult times that we come together. I assure all the families and the envoys that you will not find us wanting. Pakistan and its people stand by the entire diplomatic community in their hour of grief. I have already instructed that transportation of the mortal remains of the deceased and medical treatment of the injured be carried out at an immediate basis. The Foreign Office has also been directed to liaise with its missions abroad and with the relevant departments to ensure speedy and timely completion of all formalities. This is the least we can do for our very dear friends who have been representing their countries in Pakistan in an exemplary fashion. They were strong supporters of forging closer relations between Pakistan and their countries. We will always remember their valuable contributions. Here I would like to announce that in recognition of their services for their contribution towards forging closer bilateral relations, I am recommending to the President to bestow our Civil Gallantry Award Sitara-e-Pakistan on Ambassador Larsen of Norway, Ambassador Lucinario of the Philippines, Madam Habiba Binti Mahmood of Malaysia, and Madam Heri Listewati of Indonesia. Let me also appreciate the courage and fortitude displayed by all members of the diplomatic corps who were in Naltar, and especially by the Dean of the diplomatic corps who handled the entire situation in an admirable manner. Ladies and gentlemen, let us bow our heads in prayer to the Almighty for the souls of the departed. May their families have the strength to bear this irreparable loss. Let us also pray for the speedy recovery of all our friends who are injured and are undergoing treatment. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our condolence ceremony. Thank you.